On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 385 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Pillar up in Collingwood. And we have a packed show for you that's going all the way around the world, as our SensCentral citizen today is Ash Rogers from New South Wales in Australia. Sens fan, born and raised in Australia. Yeah, you got that right. Really fun conversation about how he got into the game of hockey and why he chose the Sens of all teams. So stay tuned for all that. We also have a new information in the Brady Tkachuk contract talks that were apparently not going to be negotiated through the media. Sean Simpson dropping a bombshell on Twitter. Take it for what it's worth, but we'll get into all that. We also have the official confirmation that NHLers will participate in the Beijing Olympics this upcoming February. So how many Sens could be there? I'll ask Pilsy that question. And then we get back to our organizational value rankings. And as a goalie-friendly show, we've got 2 attendees on today's 4. All that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. Today is Friday, September 3rd, and Pilsy, Brady Tkachuk is still not signed.
Yeah, I mean, we said if it comes to September and he's still not signed, then he can start hovering over the panic button, and it's getting pretty close to hitting that panic button, Ross. They're supposed to report to camp by like the 10th or 11th, as Angus Crookshank was telling us, so that's concerning because we're getting close, and the preseason is only a couple weeks away as well. If they have no Brady Tkachuk or Drake Batherson in Ottawa Senators camp to start, that's going to be a weird start to things.
So if you've been on Twitter today, Sean Simpson stirring the pot, saying that his sources tell him that frustration has set in with the Tkachuk camp. Brady's trying to stay positive, but doesn't understand why it's taking so long. I asked what has been offered, and it was termed that they have not received a legitimate offer from the Sens. So that's TSN Simmer from TSN 1200, of course, and we know him well, but we also know that maybe sometimes a bit of a pot stirrer. You go back to I was going to say San Jose, that's where he ended up, but he reported that Erik Karlsson was done deal to Tampa Bay. That didn't happen. So I wouldn't put all of your eggs in this basket, but again, now that the calendar has turned to September, it's starting to become a little bit more of a possibility that Brady Tkachuk and or Drake Batherson would not be at Sens camp, and that in itself is pretty unacceptable. Josh Norris would be verbal meme. Will Smith standing in the room alone, French Prince of Bel-Air, and he's like, where is everybody? That's Josh Norris if he doesn't have either of his wingers at his first day of training camp. So I'm not going to ask your level of concern. We know we're hovering over the panic button, but what to you would be a legitimate contract offer that apparently they haven't received?
Well, first off, I just want to say it seemed like the Simmer tweet, it didn't really say anything new or that we weren't already suspecting, right? Like you said earlier this morning, Ross, obviously Brady is frustrated and doesn't feel like he has a legitimate deal in front of him, or he would have signed it, right? We wouldn't still be sitting here talking about this. So I think definitely he's probably frustrated. It's getting close to training camp here. We just saw some other RFA sign big deals. Svechnikov, a very comparable contract to what Brady is probably looking for. And I think to answer your question, what a legitimate offer is, it has to be somewhere around Svechnikov deal if they're going for 8 years, right? Like that's kind of the template of where you're starting the conversation. But I'm almost at a point now, Ross, where I don't think they're talking about an 8-year deal anymore because we saw that contract come out and you would think that would really get the ball rolling. It doesn't seem like it. I think they're probably focusing on a bridge deal, which is not good news for Sens fans, but we know the way Matthew Tkachuk handled coming out of his entry-level contract. We know the big ESPN TV deals coming in. Hopefully the cap can go up. I don't think Brady's looking at that 8-year deal anymore unless they really gave him a solid offer, which it appears they haven't.
Yeah, time will tell, but Matthew Tkachuk held out from training camp for about a week. Keith Tkachuk, when he was back in the day, signed an offer sheet to leave Winnipeg at a very young age. Ultimately, he was matched, and then he was brought to Phoenix. But the Tkachuks have been known to play hardball, and they bring so much value on the ice. Why wouldn't they try to get the most that they can? So we're going to keep monitoring that situation. Brady Tkachuk, though, could be on his way to Beijing. Doesn't have to sign a contract to play for Team USA, but as I mentioned off the top, the Olympic participation is confirmed with an asterisk. And we live in a world of asterisks since March of 2020. But if there are NHL games canceled because of COVID and postponed, then they have the opportunity to back out of this contract to refill their schedule. Because right now there's a 2.5-week break, no NHL games, basically the entire month of February. So that being said, let's look at this from a Sens perspective. How many guys do you think realistically have a chance to represent their country?
I think for the Senators, you're probably looking at 3 guys. I think Brady Tkachuk is arguably the most likely. I think he's definitely a lock to be a bottom 4 guy on that United States team. His brother will definitely be there. So if you could have both of them on the U.S. team, damn, look out. That's going to be a tough time for other countries. And go ahead, Ross. What are you going to say?
I was just saying, you meant to say bottom 6.
Bottom 6. Yeah. Sorry. What did I say?
Bottom 4.
Bottom 4, yeah. Brady's probably not going to be playing defense for the Team USA. So yeah, bottom 6 role, and then you're looking at. I think you're only going to pick one of 2 of Zub or Zaitsev for Team Russia. I'd be surprised if they took both. I'm not sure which way. I guess we should call it the ROC is leaning in terms of would they pick Zub or Zaitsev or both. So maybe that's a possibility. And then Tim Stützle for Team Germany is definitely another lock as well.
Well, don't forget Mads Sogart, right? The Danes just punching.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so there's another one. So you're looking at 4 guys possibly. And it's tough for me to say this, but I'm not sure Thomas Chabot is going to make Team Canada, which is wild to think of. But the Athletic put out an article projecting some of the rosters here, and it could be tough for him to crack that top 6.
The only issue is you think it might be between him and Shea Theodore, right? Yeah. Those offensive-minded defensemen, and maybe Adam Pelech is a guy they want to bring as more of a shutdown role type. He's been outstanding with the New York Islanders over the last few seasons. He'd be on my team. Of course, we watch him all the time. We know what he brings to the table, and I only think the Olympic-sized ice surface could help a smooth skating guy like him. If they could do worse than having Theodore and Chabot on their back end. But Team Canada, of course, the most difficult team to make if you're trying to squeeze a spot in on there. You mentioned Stützle's top line guy easily with Team Germany, but the Sens don't really have many guys from like those smaller countries outside of Stützle and Sogard. So it's not like you're going to see like a guy like Rudy Balcers who's going to be there with Latvia. Funny enough, though, a couple Sens abroad, Mikkel Bodker and Peter Regan for Team Denmark should be there too. So maybe that could be a dark horse favorite for Sens fans cheering on the Olympics. But the bottom line is it's fantastic that we finally get the NHLers back in the Olympics. It's one of the best events every 4 years. So when you're able to have the best players at the highest level and have that pride of your country on the line with Olympic gold medal to boot at the end of it, it's unbelievable. So I'm glad they were able to bridge the gap between what were huge differences, enough that they had to skip the 2018 games.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they had to skip some games, although it made for some cool stories. Germany almost had a chance at winning a gold medal, which would not happen with NHL players there. But like, you got to understand, this is a big deal for NHL players. It's one of the most important parts of the CBA. I feel like always one of the biggest discussions is players want to go to the Olympics. The owners and the league only will go to the Olympics if the IOC meets their demands on insurance and payment and stuff like that. So the Olympics is a massive part of the NHL running because it's supposed to grow the game as well. You're on an international stage, the best of best competing against each other. And players, especially Canadian players, I feel like as kids, they dream of winning a gold medal with that maple leaf, the red maple leaf on their sweater, right? So I think for people to think that, if they go, whatever, if they don't go, whatever, I think it's a much more big deal for these players.
Unfortunately, no Team Australia in the Olympics, at least for hockey. Although there are
Not
some
yet.
Sens fans. We got Jimmy Hyde chimed in. We've got a couple other guys, and we want to have the worldwide phenomenon of Sens fans on online, and it's great to see. I'm just looking for another name of a guy who reached out from Australia, but we've got Ash Rogers on today's show, and I love his story about how he got into it. Really looking forward for you guys to hear that. But before we get to it, let's tell you about our friends at BetOnline, because the NHL season is fast approaching. We're less than 3 weeks away from training camp. If all your players are signed, that's a really good thing. But when the games start, you want to be in the action. You want to be able to throw a few shekels on your team. If you bet the Sens every game down the stretch last year, you have such a solid insulation to start this year, because they were underdogs in 55 out of 56 games last year. Wow. They won 10 out of their last 13, if you're wondering. So why would you watch the Sens and not try to get in on that? So why not go to betonline.ag and sprinkle a little bit on your squad? They say bet with your mind, not your heart, but I would argue that. I would say, you know what, just put a little bit where your heart is, and then you can extend that when you're able to go to BetOnline. So go to betonline.ag, sign up for a free account right now. And then when you do, use the promo code Locked On, and you'll get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's that easy. You put in $100, bingo, bango, bongo, $50 right into your account. If you put in $200, that's $100. You get what I'm saying. So go to betonline.ag right now, because we want you in the action. Don't sit on the sidelines. And also, don't forget to use the promo code Locked On to receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
Yeah, Ross, I can't wait to get back into NHL betting on betonline.ag. And hey, some Belleville bets as well. We're going to hopefully do a little better on our Belleville bets this season than we did last season. But if you want to watch all the games, if you want to make sure you're always able to watch the action you're betting on, you need to check out Directv Stream. How annoying is it when you go over to someone's house and they got 6 different controllers? You don't know where to point the thing. You don't know how to log into their subscription channels. You don't know their password. All those kinds of things are so frustrating when all you want to do, you finished a hard day at work, is sit down and watch the TV you love. Well, it can all be in one place with Directv Stream. Check it out. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports. You got your movies, you got your TV shows, all in one convenient place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device again. The best part is there's no annual contract either. So get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion, and get your TV together. Come on, guys. With Directv Stream, you can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Contents vary by package. Get your TV together with Directv Stream at directv.com.
All right, here he is. This week's SensCentral citizen, it's Ash Rogers. All right, we now welcome on a very special guest as this week's SensCentral citizen. We are going further than we've ever gone, all the way to New South Wales in Australia, where we have Ash Rogers. You can find him on Twitter at red_eyed_goat. And we're stoked that he's on the show today. Ash, what's going on? Welcome to Locked On Senators.
Thanks for having me, boys. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Well, how did you find the show? That's my first question, a real simple one.
Well, that's a very good question. I guess this is something we can get onto later. But yeah, it was sort of when I decided I was like, I'm going to get into hockey. I found my team, which is the Senators. We can get into that later too. And, you know, I'm a big podcast head anyway. So I'm like, well, let's find some podcasts. And I think yours was the first one I found and been listening ever since. And that was probably, that was around the bubble playoffs.
Yeah, last August, like right in the heart of the pandemic when Ottawa was in a stretch without playing. So you became a Sens fan, and then the team doesn't play for like 300 days. So that's how you stayed engaged, I'd imagine. So when was your first experience finding the Ottawa Senators? Forget our show.
Okay, man, this is weird. Like, hockey has like kind of always been on the periphery for me. So over here, you know, North American sports, basketball and football are huge, right? And as a kid, I got into those sports. And I always knew about hockey because I was playing the games on the old Sega Mega Drive or Genesis.
Awesome. Nice.
NHL 94, all that sort of stuff. And the Senators, they just always stuck out to me because of the name. That was the first thing. I just thought it was a unique and pretty cool name. Having done some research, it seems like people on your side of the world think it's a bit boring. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So I always kind of knew about the Sens, obviously. And then actually, this is the funny part, in the mid-2000s, I got a Sens jersey. But this was from, it's hard to get merch here. So this was from like a knockoff shop, basically. And it was mainly just because, one, I loved that logo, the 2D logo. And yeah, as I said, I always knew about the team. And again, like I have a memory, and this is probably something that we don't want to go too far into, but I also remember like watching game 1 of the 07 finals and stuff like that. So it's always been there, but I haven't really didn't take the time to get into it as much as the other sports. And, you know, because I was playing basketball as a kid and all that sort of stuff. And dude, there's barely any hockey rinks here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard to stay engaged as a hockey fan in Australia, probably, because like a 7 o'clock start here for the Sens, let's say, what time is that for you? What time do you got to be up to watch the game?
Well, funnily enough, the timing's been pretty good. Like this year, or this past season, I was watching a lot of games online, and it was around like 10 o'clock or 11 in the morning. So it was
that's not too bad.
Yeah, it was fine. It worked perfectly. But I guess back onto the Sens thing. It was around the bubble playoffs again where I was like, okay, because I got sick of basketball and football. I don't know why. I just, yeah, I'm not really as into those sports as I used to be. So I'm like, all right, we're going to get into hockey. I've played the games. I love the video games. I'm going to deep dive. I'm going to find a team. It came down to 2 options. The Sens was one, and the second was the Devils.
Okay. What and how did you break the tie on that? Did you play computer versus computer on the Sega?
I don't even know. I think it was just from listening to your fantastic podcast, boys.
Let's go. Love that. What is it about hockey that attracted you? Is it the physicality, the fact that it's on ice?
Physicality is definitely one. In some respects, I don't know if you've seen Australian football, but that's a pretty physical. Like we like physical sport here, and people have sort of said it's kind of like football on ice, kind of. But yeah, I think I just wanted something. Like I said, I wanted a new sport to follow, and I wanted to be more than a casual. So I just decided, well, this is my team, and I'm the type of person that if I like something, I will sort of go for it,
Yeah, hey, that's the way to do it for sure. So you mentioned that there's not a lot of ice rinks in Australia, but I know there is an Australian Hockey League. Now, do you get into that? Is there a team close by that you follow, just because then you're not watching games in the morning and you can kind of at least get a chance to see those games live? Or what's the interest level of the locals of the Australian Hockey League?
I would probably have to say it's very niche. Myself, I don't even know much about it at all. I do know though that one of the teams, I was born and raised in Melbourne. Melbourne Ice was like one of the best hockey teams in the country for years. And the funny thing was their rink, even though I said there's not many rinks, there was actually a rink like a few, in a suburb like over from me. That's where they trained and practiced and played. And a friend of mine now, actually, like his brother used to play, and he now does maintenance at the rink and stuff like that.
Wow, that's awesome. So when we get back to the Ottawa Senators, who are some of the first favorite players that you had that you're like, okay, I made a good choice. Like, this is a good team to follow? I feel like it's going to be Chris Neil for some reason.
Look, this is where my lack of knowledge really is going to come into play. So I don't know a whole lot about the old crew, like, you know, the older teams. As I said, I knew about the team even in 07 when they were in the finals, but I didn't really know anyone. Obviously, Alfredson, I knew he was good. But if anything, my knowledge is probably only based on the current roster.
But I like that. That means that you're now immersing yourself into this team as it's starting to grow as well. Does that part interest you as well, that it's such a young team, you feel like you can latch on and watch them grow from the start?
100%. And that was another big reason why I picked the Sens too, because doing a bit of research, I was reading that they had, you know, one of the better prospect lists in the league, and they were on the rise after some rough years. And, you know, I don't like to jump on the winning sort of, you know, I could have just said, yeah, I'll be a Tampa Bay fan or something like that. But no, there's no growth in that.
Yeah, well, if you like growth, the Ottawa Senators fan base, that's definitely a good place for you to start. Get in on the ground floor and watch these kids rise. So let's stick to the current team where you've got some knowledge. Who are some of the guys you love on this current Ottawa Senators team?
Okay, obviously it's the ones, you know, Jimmy.
Jimmy Stu?
Unreal, eh?
He was kind of the one I was reading about when the draft was coming up, and I kind of thought, oh, is he going to be like able to play in his first year? Because learning about the sport now, it's, you know, you get other sports, even football here, like kids get drafted and they're on the field the next year, you know. The development side of things is something that I appreciate a lot in the sport too. So yeah, Timmy, he just seems like a real wholesome kid and he can play. Obviously I love Brady because, you know, like, love tough guys and he can play too. And I like Connor Brown a lot too.
Yeah, he got better and better as the year went on too. How frustrating was it at the start of the season? Were you watching him and being like, why are you missing these chances? He was getting so many, and that speaks to how good he is at creating offense. But were you wondering, why aren't they going in the net? And then all of a sudden, Connor Brown gets 7, and then Drake had 8 for the record of longest goal streaks in franchise history. But that must be fun to, again, talking about the growth of the players. I feel like that's kind of a theme here, is that you get to see even a guy like Connor Brown, who's not necessarily a prospect, but it's one of my favorite parts too, watching the teams that just get better as they go through the rigors and having some failures as well that lead to the success.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as I said, we could all, as a noob, I could have picked, you know, a team that was winning all the time. And, you know, it was, again, I did a lot of research just reading online and sort of who has the best prospects. And it wasn't even that really. I think I was always leaning to the Sens, but that stuff kind of just put it over the top, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. They're a fun team to watch, and especially when they look good in these new jerseys like we were talking about now. Yeah. Ash, let's say in an alternate reality, you don't got to pay the shipping fees to get a jersey to Australia. Shipping fees are free. You can pick any Ottawa Senators jersey you like. What player and what color are you picking?
Oh, man, yeah, shipping fees. Whew. I was looking at a scarf in the team shop and it was reasonable, but then the shipping was going to be about $100.
Oh, man. Jeez.
But look, honestly, that's a really good question. I have a pretty good basketball jersey collection. So but I'm always mindful of like who could be moving somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
You got to look at that. Yeah, we know.
So you're getting a Thomas Chabot jersey then, the one guy who's locked up.
Well, I'd be probably saying once Brady puts pen to paper, I get his jersey.
Yeah, nice.
But then what color? What color would you get?
Did you like the red ones this year?
Yeah, they were awesome, man. But I think I would probably just go for the one that's hanging in Brandon's background of Brandon there. Yeah, because that old that was, like I said, when I had a Sens jersey, it was the white 2D. And I sort of didn't even realize they had changed to the 3D logo for many years until I got the NHL game a few years ago. They changed. I would definitely say a black Brady jersey. Yep.
Nice. Have you convinced any of your friends to jump on the bandwagon? Have you gotten any more hockey fans in Australia?
I'm trying. It's funny though, because actually one of my guys I follow on Twitter, and we talk Aussie football a lot. It was the 5-1 comeback game, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I tweeted about it, and he's like, "Oh, you got a link?" And so we watched it together, and he was like, "Wow, man, this is awesome." Because I was like, "Well, you could not find a better game to watch for your first hockey game."
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that, for sure.
Exactly. That was amazing. I was so happy I watched that game. Because look, even though I am a hockey noob again, I'm all for sort of Leafs trash talk as well.
That's an easy way to make yourself fall in love with Sens Twitter. And we're hoping everyone's going to go follow you there. It's red_eyed_goat. My final question for you, Ash, is when can we expect you at the Canadian Tire Center? Are you planning a trip eventually when the world gets back to normal in the next couple of years? Going to try to come see the boys in person?
I would absolutely love to. But at this stage, who knows if and when it's going to be possible. But yeah, man, that's my next destination, 100%.
Awesome. Well, we'll be waiting there with a beer in hand when you do.
I'd love it, boys. I'd love it. And I also have to just say a quick, before we depart, I don't know if you guys watch Australian football. My team is in the finals this week, but one of our young guns was actually born in Canada.
No way.
Awesome.
He was a number 1 draft pick in 2016, born in Canada, lived there till he was 5 years old. So there's a Canadian connection.
What's the team name?
Essendon Bombers.
The Bombers. All right. And they're in the what championship? What trophy are they going to win?
It's the AFL. So we don't do series. It's like football, like it's one-off matches.
One game,
it's a top 8 out of 18 teams. They make we call them finals. You could call it playoffs. But we sort of snuck into the bottom spot. We're one of the better teams in history, but we've sucked for like 20 years. So, but yeah, shout out to that. Check him out. His name is Andrew McGrath.
Nice.
There you go.
I love it. So we got even more connections there from New South Wales to Canada. And hey, like I said, there will be at least one, maybe 100 beers waiting for you. We're going to have a good time. We have to make sure to get you over and be a part of it as well. We'd love to. And it's great to put a face to the name. We know we've been interacting with you on social media before. And I think our listeners are going to love this because it just shows oftentimes Sens fans get overshadowed because they're in between. Well, where you are, you're between 2 big cities in Melbourne and Sydney. So think of that in Canada. It's Montreal and Toronto, and their fan base, there's so many more people. So they like to say that we don't have fans. And now we can point to you, Ash, out in Australia as a big Sens fan. So thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And we'll do it again down the road.
No worries, boys. I was a bit sort of nervous to come on because, like I said, I'm a noob. But no, it was awesome. I love the show. Your download numbers are just proof that there's people out there, man. And it's been a pleasure. And thank you for having me on. I definitely appreciate it.
Chef Ash for joining us all the way from down under. And the name I was looking for, Lincoln Berry, is going to join us again soon. So the Sens army is strong in Australia. And I don't know if you saw the tweet I put out yesterday, Pilsy, where when I was driving from Thunder Bay to Winnipeg, while I was driving, obviously I pull over to get gas. We had to fill up a few times. Gas prices don't even get me started. But I got a DM saying, I think I just drove by your U-Haul on the highway while I was listening to the Igor Sokolov interview. So that was a pretty cool moment to be able to, connect with a Sens fan all the way up in the Lake of the Woods.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, Ross, maybe when I'm driving your car to Winnipeg for you, we'll get some stickers on the back. We'll make it like a Locked On Senators tour bus.
Yes, honk if you see Pilsy in a black Honda Civic. Exactly. Hey, if your car breaks down, though, you're going to give me a call, but you're also going to call rockauto.com because it's a family business that serves auto parts to customers online, and they've been doing it for 20 years. They're no stranger to fixing any type of car, and they have everything. I'm serious. Everything. Engine control modules, brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil. You can even get your new carpet there. And whether it's your classic or daily drive, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The rockauto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brands, specifications, and prices you prefer. Best of all, let's hang out with those prices a little bit longer because they're always reliably low, and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much on the same parts? Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. All we ask is that you put Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. That way, they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com.
And while you're checking out rockauto.com, another friend of the show, another sponsor, another website you got to check out, builtbar.com. I'm going to be fueled by Built Bars, trying to get to Winnipeg on time to catch the Sens play the Jets in the preseason game on September 26th. And the way for me to stay fueled, I'm loving these new products from Built Bar. It's protein balls from Built Bar. They are gluten-free, packed with energy, and they can fuel your busy life. There's only 190 calories per pack. There's 2 pieces per pack. You get a bunch of protein in there, 10 grams of protein, 5 grams per little protein ball. And they got a new flavor coming out. It's the peanut butter brownie flavor. You know peanut butter brownie from protein bars at builtbar.com. So why not try out the protein balls? A little new twist to the protein you love. Always covered in 100% chocolate. All their protein bars are. There's so many amazing flavors, but to add a little sweetness to that nice deal, we're going to give you a deal because Built Bar hooks us up and we're hooking you up. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your next order at builtbar.com. Guys, one more time, builtbar.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your next order. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
Make sure you're Locked On Senators wherever you download your podcast. You can follow us anywhere: Apple, Spotify, Google Play, the Odyssey app, and now on YouTube. Hello. And if you didn't catch our last episode, we had Igor Sokolov on. Great conversation. One of the things he mentioned was who the hardest goalie was to score on in practice this year. And that brings us right in to our organizational value rankings. And coming in at number 40 is Kevin Mandolese. And that was who Sokolov answered the hardest guy to score on. And albeit he played together for 2 years in Cape Breton, what would you make of Mando's first pro season?
Yeah, well, Sokolov was mentioning that it's hard to score on him because, like you said, they're teammates. So, like, he's got a book on Sokolov already, whereas all these other guys probably don't. And so that makes it tough right away. It's an unfortunate start for Mando because really, his spot should have been the starter with the Brampton Beast. I think that would have been the perfect transition from the Q, playing in the ECHL. But with COVID, obviously, we know the Brampton Beast season didn't kick off, and actually the team unfortunately had to fold. That's how hard COVID hit the ECHL. But this year, new ECHL team with the Atlanta Gladiators coming into the Sens system, so he will probably get an opportunity to be the starter there. But as far as last season goes, Ross, really, he only got to play in kind of the worst times. Like, he got most of his games at the start of the season when Belleville was not doing very well. And then when he did get some games at the end of the season, he still wasn't able to keep the puck out of the back of the net too much. Like, most of his games, he's letting in 4 or 5 goals. He even let in 7 goals the one game. So it was tough for him to stay consistent. But then he had a couple games, 3 or 4 games, where he only let in 2 goals. So for him, I'd like to see a little more consistency, and I think that will come if he's playing in the ECHL. We'll see what kind of roster the Gladiators kind of set up here. But if he does get some Belleville time, he's going to have a better team, a more experienced team in front of him, and that should help out as well.
Yeah, 2 of his 3 wins, though, came in his last 4 games. And sorry, so many numbers in that sentence. But he got a bit better as the year went on. And albeit his final start, probably not what he would have liked, 5 goals on 26 shots. But I think he was kind of thrown in an unfair situation there. He's a 6th round pick coming out of junior, a year where he was so dominant. He was the Quebec League goalie of the year. And that being said, he probably would say that he could have started better. And if that had happened, maybe he gets a little momentum and then it goes on his side. But as we know, the goaltending position is so much in your own head that once the first couple games didn't go his way, then it starts to snowball. So I think the ECHL is a perfect spot for him to begin his career, his proper pro career, first full season and all that, because he ended last year with an .888 save percentage. I think he would tell you that's not good enough. And that being said, like he had an average of like 40 shots against in his first 5 games last year. Like the one game he let in 7, okay, on 48 shots. So I think the defense could have done a bit better in front of him too. And like you saw, Sogard's numbers at the end of the year were great, but how much better was the team at that point? And, you know, Mando wasn't given that same opportunity. And that's just a battle. And I think it's going to be really important for him to bounce back this year and be like, yo, I can play pro hockey. So I'm excited to see his development because even Cruikshank told us like his athleticism is elite. And let's not put the same pressures on him that we have for Gustafson and Sogard at that same age because they were 2nd round picks. This guy, 6th rounder. Let's let him have a bit more leash, get his feet wet at the pro level. And I think that athleticism is going to carry him and the technique is going to come. He's going to be working with the goalie coaches in the Senators organization. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a better year for Mando and he'll have a chance to climb up these rankings.
Yeah, I think it'll be a better year as well. And hopefully if, kind of the injuries don't bite the Sens in the crease, he'll just be able to say, I'm going to be the starter in Atlanta. And that's that.
Okay, we have breaking news. We're going to get back to the countdown tomorrow. Drake Batherson, 6-year contract with the Ottawa Senators.
Holy crap. Do we have AAV?
We do. Yet? This is 3 minutes ago, 4.975 on
That's
the AAV.
Amazing.
That is a steal of a contract. So breaking news, because you're listening to this, it's a little later. We're going to post this part on a separate clip here. Drake Batherson has agreed to a 6-year, $29.85 million contract, an average of 4.975. Pilsy, your immediate reaction.
Well, my immediate reaction is this was based off the Joel Farabee contract, right? Like, didn't he get the exact same except 5 mil per year and similar style players? Although Farabee led his team in goals last season, so he got paid for that for sure. But man, this is an amazing deal for the Ottawa Senators. We thought, Ross, a lot of our talks were talking about a 6x6 deal for Batherson. So for it to come in under $5 million, like Batherson's only making a shade more than Colin White. So this is a great place for him to be slated in. And I think this is an amazing deal for Drake Batherson to get 6 years. That's some good financial stability. And finally, we have that out of the question. And now Josh Norris, the Will Smith, the meme, there's at least someone else standing in the room with them.
Oh, I absolutely love this from both sides. We're still waiting on the breakdown of if there's any signing bonus. I'd say probably not. Okay. But with this, they're buying 2 years of unrestricted free agency as well. This has the potential to be a complete steal. I love that they were able to get that 6th year because I think 5 or less, like that's good. Being able to go 6 years, this guy is locked up until he's 30 years old.
This is amazing, man. I can't even like process this fast enough to talk about it. That I was not expecting a Drake Batherson deal to come out today. Holy.
All right. Well, I'll give you half a second to collect your thoughts because we have the breakdown here. He'll make 2.5 this year. Oh, talk about a steal. 2.5 this year, then 3.5 next year, 5.4 in 2023, 24, 24, 25. Both those years, 5.4. Then in the final 2 years, he makes 6.5 and then 6.55. He's 23 years old right now, and Senators general manager says Drake represents an integral component of the future at forward. Dating to his first pro season, he steadily progressed to the point where he is now widely recognized as a bona fide top-line NHL winger. He possesses a strong ability to play at both ends of the ice, is a key power play contributor, and someone we expect to be a prominent player for us for several years to come. Pilsy, at 4.975, he is currently, and we say that strongly, currently the Sens' highest paid forward.
Yeah, and I mean, Brady aside, deservedly, that's where he should be. So, man, you're looking at some of these contracts that the Sens have locked down now, like Connor Brown to a lesser extent, but that was an amazing deal at his dollar amount. Batherson's probably going to be an amazing deal, especially like you said, only $2.5 million being paid this year. That's incredible. So, 6 years for Drake Batherson at under $5 million. That's going to do so much good for this team, and it provides them with so much flexibility still. I really thought it was going to be closer to $6 million AAV. So this is great.
It's unbelievable. And sorry, we'll get back to organizational value rankings on Monday because we need to dive into this even more. Like, what can he provide going forward? What's the upside offensively for Drake Batherson?
I mean, it's tough to say because he's only kind of just reached his NHL peak. Like last season in a shortened season, 56 games, 34 points, 17 goals and assists each. So he's definitely a 20 goal scorer for sure. Probably
okay.
let
me ask this another way. Will he crack 30 in this contract?
I don't think so. A 30 goal scorer, like that's usually for elite snipers. And
I'll say he will. I mean, he was on pace for 25 last year as a 23-year-old.
Definitely. I think he could get close. I have him kind of between 25 and 30 goals every year, but I think you're going to see those assists bounce up when Brady Tkachuk starts netting more of those kind of rebound chances and the power play gets clicking a little more. I think you're going to start seeing him get a little more assists. And I think definitely he's going to be a 50, 60-point guy.
He is locked up for 6 years. I can't get over this. It's awesome.
It feels good.
Him and Thomas Chabot are the only guys locked up for more than 4 years right now. So to have him as a key part of the core is awesome. He got better as the year went on. Remember, I had that 3-point bet for every game.
Oh my God. And he teased you. With that one.
He kept getting two.
Early too. Like there was games where you have 2 points in the first period.
Yeah, against Calgary. I remember that one specifically. But man, like not only that, but off the ice, I noticed that he was one of the guys who was always talking to the media. Like he would be one of their go-to guys. You know, he's got that good East Coast boy to him where he's just always having a good time. And you've brought this up time and time again. He has elite chemistry with the best player on the team in Brady Tkachuk and also the most promising player on the team because when he was playing with Tim Stützle, that line was clicking and they had an anchor at center. Derek Stepan was their center. So just think of what could be as this goes forward. Like he's going to outperform this contract from day one. I have no doubt in my mind.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. I think the only question is who. I think eventually in the latter half of this contract, he's going to be a second line winger because they're going to hopefully go out and acquire an elite veteran winger or someone's going to come up through the ranks and pass him as more of a goal scorer. And then you can see him. I would love to see him eventually on a line like Stützle, Pinto, and Batherson. Damn, that's a nice line. Not to say that Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson isn't, because that's obviously working really well. But I think Drake is just in such a good position here. I'm so happy for him getting 6 years at a nice dollar amount. And yeah, I just think the key here is it gives the Sens so much room with their flexibility because you can have Drake Batherson be a second line winger and then still be able to afford a guy to be in a right wing spot ahead of him because you got such a good deal on that contract.
100%. And you go back to when you and I watched him for those 2 seasons at the Belleville Senators level, and he had 116 points in 105 games. Like, he was so elite in the AHL as a 20 and 21-year-old. I've noticed that at all levels, like the Quebec League, the AHL, and then at the NHL, because he had 2 years where he played upwards of 30 games and he was just a non-factor. And I'm sure he'd tell you the same thing. I think he scored in his first NHL game, though, against the Detroit Red Wings, right off a face-off. Puck came back and he sniped, I want to say, on Jimmy Howard, but he was a non-factor, right? Like,
he just wasn't ready. Yeah, he wasn't ready.
And that's fine, because he was such a factor at the AHL level. But we're seeing that progression where he just gets better and better every year. And when he gets stronger, and we know he will, that power forward aspect of his game will be even more pronounced, because he has it in him. He 100% will be a power forward scoring winger who can help you defensively at the same time. So when you put all that together, and it's under $5 million at a contract that takes him from 23 to 30, the prime of most players' careers, it's a complete win, like no brainer. And thank you very much for the Senators for dropping that little news while we're recording. Love the immediate reaction to that.
Yeah, that was great. I'm so stoked about it. And yeah, I'm just looking at the Joel Farabee contract, and it's basically identical, other than he's getting a crap ton of signing bonuses throughout his contract, which I'm sure Drake won't be getting. And yeah, like you said, power forward, 6'1", 205 pounds. And let's not forget or gloss over the fact that when this guy's in the offseason, he's not just hanging out, going to the local rink. He's training with the best of the best in guys like McKinnon, Marchand, Crosby out in the East Coast. Like, his progression is only going to go up, like you said.
Oh, and Bobby Schmurder, as the boys call him, as Igor's retweeting, saying, congrats, Bobby. So we got Bobby and Jimmy up in the top 6. Oh, man, that is awesome. So that's a great way to finish off the show and head into the weekend feeling good, because we start this show off with doom and gloom. Brady, yeah. Can they sign him? Here, this is the question we'll leave off with. What do you think Brady's reaction to seeing Drake sign at that contract value? What do you think he's thinking right now?
I mean, it definitely helps. And I really thought they were going to get Brady done first, and then Drake was going to work off his contract. But this is going to have a reverse effect, right? Like, now they're going to say, we got Drake here, we got Shabbat here, you're somewhere in that range, right? And having Drake signed for 6 years, that's got to make Brady feel pretty good, because what the thing he was kind of been saying is, or he hasn't said directly, but that's kind of been rumored, is he's waiting for this team to show that they'll actually pay the guys this time, and they're not just going to develop guys and trade them and keep rebuilding in that cycle. So the Sens are showing they're willing to do that. They've put their money where their mouth is with some of the guys like Colin White, Thomas Chabot, and now Drake Batherson and Matt Murray, if you want to throw that in the conversation, that they're willing to shell out these big contracts to try to build a contending team for more than just a flash in the pan one season or something. So Brady's got to be saying to himself, all right, that makes me feel a little more at ease, and maybe I can flex a little on the years or the annual value, because I'm seeing that my guys are going to be around me. And we have the core and the culture of a winning team someday. And if you have your buddies and your teammates and guys you grew up developing and playing with signed long-term, that's got to make you feel good. I'm just relieved. Like, I feel like there's a massive relief, because having both those guys sitting idly without a contract was so worrisome. But now that Drake's done, yeah, I really think Brady's going to be much more inclined to sign.
Oh my goodness. This episode just encapsulated what it's like to be a Sens fan. Eh? All the emotions from the start to the end. And what we'll say is there is never a dull day to be a Sens fan. And we hope that us being here 3 times a week, soon going back to 5, just makes it a little bit better to be an Ottawa Senators fan. Maybe next time we're on a show, it'll be Monday. Could we have the whole crew back together? Well, we've got a weekend for Pierre Dorion to try to figure out this Brady Tkachuk contract, but it is a great weekend, Sens fans. Crack a beer. Drake Batherson. Actually, don't crack a beer. Remember, he told us when we were just making sense of the Sens, we had Drake Batherson as our first player guest. He was still playing in the QMJHL, said he's a cider guy. So go crack your favorite Annapolis Valley cider. Have a cold one, because the Senators have locked up a player-friendly contract, but they also gave the guy 6 years. So Drake gets the guaranteed term. And Nova Scotians, was there any doubt that these guys are absolute beauties, team-first guys? Marchand, team-friendly contract. Nate McKinnon, most value contract in the league. Sidney Crosby, that superstitious freak had to get 8.7 million just to go to be the same with his number. He could have got 25 million, like twice as much as the maximum allowed back then. But Drake Batherson is locked up, Sens fans. And that's a great way to say goodbye. For Brandon Pillar, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team